What is going on, all you card collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the 40-year-old collector. So, you know what time it is. It's time to look at that November grading report. All right, before we jump into that, I want to remind everybody that December is Cards Against Cancer Month here at the 40-year-old collector. So for every new subscriber that we get, we're donating $2 to our local children's cancer charity. It might not sound like a lot, but it's going to add up. And at the end of the month, we're going to have a big old check to present to them. So super excited for that, and we appreciate everybody taking part in it. Now, let's get into it. So this right here is just the raw number of cards that were graded by company last month. So I got October up there because that's when I started doing these reviews. And then obviously November is last month. One thing to call out, everybody is down with the exception of Certified Collectors Group, which saw a little bit of a bump in their sports card division. Everybody across the board is down. PSA is down, SGC is down, Beckett's down. Coming off of last month, which was really, really strong, lots of gains across the board. I'll tell you this much, PSA dropping down 5% doesn't really bother me. I'll show you a trend line here later in the video to let you know why I'm not overly concerned with that. And I'm also happy to see them hovering around the million mark. This is going to be a trend throughout this video. I'm really excited to see what December brings because I think December's report is where we can start aggregating some of this data over the last 3 or 4 months and start to really understand where things are going in the grading space. So, down across the board, poor Beckett, down 2 months in a row. Ugh. Not looking great for Beckett. I hope they recover. Beckett's a strong name in the hobby, and I think the hobby's better when Beckett is a big player in it. The other thing I wanted to call out was something I found the other day. So SGC has signed a deal with Topps. So when Bowman Chrome 2022 in baseball, so Bowman Chrome 2022 baseball, when that drops, any card in that set can be sent to SGC for grading for only $9. So any 2022 Bowman Chrome baseball card that you get, you can send to SGC and they'll grade it for $9. A lot of people are excited about that. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm normally the positive one in the room, but I'm just not thrilled about it. I don't know what benefit comes of it. Like, yeah, SGC will do more grading, and hopefully this is a way for them to get other collectors to try out their service and check out their slabs and see what they do. SGC's been doing great on turnaround time. They've been really, really fast. I like their slabs. I just don't see why flooding the market with 2022 Bowman Chrome baseball cards and SGC slabs is going to do anybody any good. I don't think anybody wins in a race to the bottom. I've always said that. And, when you have a premium service and people are willing to pay a premium price, I don't think that you should discount yourself too much. I think $9 a slab is a little bit of a, I think they're selling themselves short, and I don't understand why they're doing it for the product. I would have rather them see them do it for, run a $15 vintage special, because SGC is really building this name for vintage grading, and I'll show you a slide on that later too. So, doesn't make sense to me, but I'm not a grading company owner or operator, so what the hell do I know? But I thought that was interesting. I thought I'd call that out. So we'll see what that does for the hobby, and hopefully it does big things for SGC. I like them as a whole. All right, so this next one was really, really interesting to me. So interesting that I even included September in it. So this is just PSA. But this shows out of those million cards that are being graded by PSA, what's the breakdown? So are they trading card games? Are they non-sport? Are they boxing? Are they baseball, football, et cetera, et cetera? So when you look at September, so September was a really strong grading month. You look at the change versus prior month, you see basically black top to bottom. Not basically, it is black top to bottom. Everybody was up. In October, you start to see baseball drop, basketball drop a little bit. Baseball was winding down the World Series. So that makes sense. Non-sports cards was up. Everybody knows the Marvel space is getting really, really hot right now. Soccer was flat. Soccer, we're in the middle of the World Cup. USA just got booted from the group of 16, but hey, go USA, at least you made it. So soccer's got a little bit of interest. But then when you look at November, I understand PSA was down 5% month over month. But when you see the drop in baseball, football, basketball, look at that change to prior month, down 25, 26, and 30% respectively. That's crazy. If it wasn't for a strong trading card game month for PSA would have been looking at some really ugly numbers. So it will be interesting, again, to see what December numbers bring, to see how that trend continues. The other thing that I wanted to call out too is when you look at the divergence of the major sports ball games. So when I say sports ball, I'm talking about baseball, basketball, football. You look at baseball in September was 24% of the cards graded. Basketball was 19, football was 17. Then you look in October, it starts to tighten a little bit. It goes 21, 19, 18. Then you look in November, and it tightens even more, 16, 15, 13. So Need a little bit more data to see if this is a long-term trend in the tightening of the sports and the grading of the cards, but we shall see. You know me, I'm a football guy. If you watch my first October video, you know that I think football's on the rise, and I think it's going to take over baseball and basketball here at some point, but I think we got some space to go, but it's interesting to see the tightening of those three different sports from a grading perspective. So this is the graph I was referring to earlier. So PSA, they're 9x on the closest competition. So I look at PSA data and I use that as an overall barometer for the entire market. Overall, over this period of time, this is a 20-month graph, you'll see that they're up and to the right. Now, the concern is the last 3 months we've started to tick down. And what's a little bit concerning is October to November this year dropped versus last year it was up. I'm not freaking out too much because if you look, these bars are significantly higher than they were in 2021. So we're starting with a much higher number to compare against. So dropping 5% month over month, but overall grading for November 2022 versus November 2021 is up significantly. Again, beating that dead horse. Really excited to see December. I'm hoping that these bars start heading in the right direction, up and to the right. We don't want to see that trend line start coming down, especially if there's more products out there. I feel like there's more excitement in the industry now than ever before, but we know we're coming off of those highs of 2021, those high prices, kind of like the pandemic push that we got. So we'll see what happens in December. But again, down a couple months in a row at PSA, number of overall cards graded. Not concerned. I think it's more of a just a little bit of a correction versus a crash. So we'll see. So this is what I was talking about when I was referring to SGC, and they're building a brand and they're building a name kind of around vintage right now. So these two, I guess graphs, if you will, they're not graphs, but these two displays right here show you the total cards that were graded by each company and what era they come from. So who's grading the most modern, who's grading the most vintage. Really cool to see back-to-back months with SGC. What is that? Almost 25 and change, 25, 30% of their cards that they're grading are 1970s or later. It's awesome. I had somebody ask me the other day how I feel about SGC vintage grading, and I told them that SGC is doing an amazing job in that space. They are hard graders. Next slide is going to go ahead and affirm that assertion, but they're hard graders. I'd be happy to own any card in an SGC slab, especially vintage ones. We're putting up big modern numbers, which you would expect. Those are cards that people are buying right now, especially with the interest in the hobby, the interest around grading. I think people are getting the cards and setting them off right away. That way they don't sit in a box and run the risk of getting damaged. But I also think that when you see a lot of modern cards being graded, it means a lot of people can send them out, get them graded, and flip them. So again, I think that means that people feel like this demand in the hobby is still strong, which is good for all of us. I mean, you look at the 2020s era, that's representing over 40% of all the cards graded for the big sports card grading companies. Let's see here. And when you think about that, I mean, that's only 2020, 2021, 2022, right? So 3 years worth of cards is representing, 45% plus, 45%-ish for these graders. Again, that's not something I find shocking, but it just shows you that the people who are getting these modern cards must feel like there's a really strong market for it out there. So again, SGC, look at them crushing the vintage. Love to see that. Okay, and then what I was talking a minute ago about how I would be happy to hold an SGC slab in any of the vintage, especially in the high grades. So what this is out of the cards that are sent into these companies, how many of them come back with a gem mint grade? So PSA 10, Beckett 9.5 or 10, SGC 10, CSG 10, what percentage of the cards that are sent in come back as Gen Mint? So as you would expect, we see the averages slanted towards modern. Modern cards have a better opportunity of being Gem Mint. They haven't been out as long. They're printed better. So we see a high percentage of cards in the 2020s and 2010s that are coming back as Gem Mint. One of the things I take away from this is if I have a card and I'm not sure, I'm like, I don't know if it's a PSA 9 or a PSA 10. It's kind of on the fence. There might be one thing wrong. I feel like if you send it to Beckett, you have the better opportunity to get that Beckett 9.5 because you see the last 2 months, they have a higher gem percentage in the 2020s and 2010s versus PSA. So if you're on the fence about it, a BGS 9.5 is going to net you a little bit more than a PSA 9. So if you're not sure what to do and it's a modern card, I'd send it to Beckett and see what kind of grades they can get you. I still like a PSA slab. I just think they hold their value better. If there's any chance of getting a 10, send it to PSA. But then when you look at vintage, right, we saw that SGC has graded a good percentage of their cards have been graded in the 70s, 60s, and 50s. But look at those gem rates. None in the 60s and older for the last 2 months, and 0.1 in the 70s. Again, older cards, you don't expect to see a lot of gems, but at least PSA has some that have been graded the last couple months, Gem Mint 10. I don't know if that's because people trust the PSA name more. I don't know if it's because people are sending their highest quality cards to them, and that's why. But it's kind of shocking to me to see back-to-back months where SGC doesn't have any gem, like at least one or two, something to give it even a 0.1%. But again, I would be happy to own any vintage card in a crazy high grade in an SGC slab because I know that they're doing it right. I know that they're not just handing out grades. However, if I'm going to send in a card, I would probably send in a vintage card to PSA, especially if I think that it could be a 9, because SGC just looks like they're grading really hard. But interesting stuff to take away. That's why we look at this. I find all of this data really interesting and really relevant, both from a selling and from a buying and from a collecting standpoint. So that's it. Those are the big things that drive the market. Those are the big things around the grading report. Again, really excited to see what December brings. Again, Cards Against Cancer this month. If you like this content, if you like what we bring to the table, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and know that you're going to be doing good, not just hopefully for yourself for getting some cool videos, but also for some children and families who are really in need. So hope everybody has an awesome day. Thanks for watching. Happy collecting, everybody.